Patagonia and North Face are well known as two of the top brands in the outdoor clothing market. They've long been competitors, with reviewers frequently pitting their wares against one another. But this video is not a comparison between the North Face and Patagonia puffer jacket and which one will keep you warmest on a cliff face. In this video, we are going to be talking about the differences between Patagonia and North Face when it comes to their overall branding and marketing message, particularly around the planet. Patagonia is self-described as an activist company, well known for their critiques of consumerism, and they expend considerable time and money on their environmental efforts. While North Face is aware that there are environmental issues, is more interested in doing partnerships with companies like Supreme. But what many people don't know is that these brands actually have a history of deep friendship. Doug Tompkins, co-founder of North Face, and Yvon Chouinard, who's the founder of Patagonia, were friends as teenagers, with a strong relationship between their founders and a mutual love and respect for the outdoors. How did Patagonia and North Face end up taking nearly opposite approaches to the environment? Now, full disclosure, we have made videos about Patagonia in the past on this channel, and I'm wearing a Patagonia shirt right now, so there is some bias in this video. Regardless, I think that this is a very interesting story, and I hope that you appreciate it. And if it turns out that I'm right, remember, you can give this video a like to show your support. Both North Face and Patagonia founders have similar origins. Doug and Yvon were lifelong adventurers, more climbers than businessmen, honestly, but expeditions cost money. To fund their outdoor hobbies, they both started selling climbing gear at a young age. After a number of interesting business ventures, Yvon founded Chouinard Equipment in 1965, and just 5 years later, he became the largest supplier of climbing gear in the USA. Around that same time, Doug was also selling climbing and camping gear and set up his own small retail store, the North Face, in 1966. And shortly after that, Doug and Yvon went on an expedition together that would not only shape the rest of their lives, but the clothing industry as we know it. Sometime in the late 60s, Doug and Yvon decided to take a road trip from California to South America. They climbed and surfed and skied all the way. The trip was Doug's idea, but Yvon agreed to go on the condition that they could ascend Mount Fitzroy in Patagonia, Chile, which you may recognize from this familiar logo. Doug and Yvon were both so enamored by the natural landscapes of South America, and particularly the Patagonia region, that they were never the same. The friends found themselves a new passion: conservation. Not too long after this trip, the two friends applied their life-changing experience to their companies, but they were not prepared for the craziness that the outdoor industry was becoming. Yvon expanded to selling apparel and founded Patagonia, adopting the silhouette of Mount Fitzroy as his new logo, inspired by his Patagonia trip. Yvon made sure the brand reflected his values and emphasized environmental responsibility as a part of his company. Meanwhile, Doug sold the North Face just 2 years after he opened his first retail store. Instead, he founded Esprit, which is another similar company, which he then grew into a multi-million-dollar company. But despite his massive success in the clothing business, Doug wasn't happy with what the industry had become. As the popularity of outdoor sports and comfortable daily attire grew, so did the outdoor apparel industry. Just in the last few years, the market for outdoor clothes went from $5.1 billion in 2013 to $6.7 billion in 2019, and that's just in the USA alone. Globally, this trend is expected to continue well into the future. To Doug, it was clear that this kind of growth was unsustainable. Outdoor clothing was becoming just another fashion category, and suddenly everyone thought that they needed Gore-Tex for their morning commute. I'm very guilty of this. I wear a Patagonia jacket when I get on the bus to go to work. He, more than most, was painfully aware of the impact that his products were having, and he envisioned an apocalyptic future if something didn't change. In one interview, he described a world of sand dunes populated with Norwegian rats and cockroaches, which is very specific. In 1989, to prevent this bleak future, Doug sold his share of Esprit USA because he, quote, wanted to stop selling people things they don't need. By that time, his share was worth $125 million. He used that extra cash to move to Chile, where he started a foundation called Deep Ecology and began collecting what now amounts to 2.2 million acres of land. Although as of recording this, we couldn't really find any online presence for this foundation anywhere. Now, we don't actually know what this choice meant for their friendship between Doug and Yvonne, but what we do know is that the two remain friends. They went on countless adventures together, right up until the moment when at age 72, Doug passed away in a kayaking accident on an expedition with Yvonne, an expedition in Patagonia, Chile, no less. Today, we see the legacy of both men through the companies that they helped create. Yes, Doug left North Face early in its development, but it is interesting to see how these perspectives shape the industry over time. Both men understood the problems of the apparel business. Doug chose to get out of the industry entirely, and Yvonne chose to stay in the industry where he could shape it from the inside and use the profits to benefit the world at large. Today, without the direction of Doug, North Face has become a giant in the outdoor apparel industry and has built a worldwide brand doing precisely what Doug didn't want, selling people things that they don't need. They've done a lot of weird collabs, including a recent one with Gucci, just in case you needed a $2,000 pair of designer boots to trek through the wilderness. But don't get them muddy because it literally says, protect from direct sunlight, heat, and rain, which is just incredible. To be fair, North Face has started a few environmental initiatives, but it always feels like they're just chasing the trend. For example, they're using 100% recycled polyester in their thermoball jackets, but they conveniently started this only after Patagonia had done the exact same thing years earlier. And sadly, this greenwashing works. Profits went up since this rebranding. North Face now makes an estimated $2 billion a year compared to Patagonia's mere $800 million. As for Yvonne, he stuck with Patagonia and continued to innovate within the outdoor gear scene. Patagonia figured if you're gonna buy new outdoor gear, it might as well be made of the best materials and produced sustainably. They single-handedly created the organic cotton industry in the 1960s, and they're doing the same thing again today with hemp. We actually made a whole video about this subject if you want to learn more about that. The link to that will be down in the description. Patagonia's actions have become trend-setting standards for basically all outdoor clothing companies. But their influence goes beyond just the industry itself. They also helped co-found the 1% for the Planet nonprofit, and they've been recognized as a leader in corporate activism across the world. They created the Worn Wear Project, which repairs clothes from any brand, including their own. They fight oil drilling projects in Los Angeles neighborhoods. They raise money to promote the protection of European wild rivers, and they help connect volunteers to a number of important causes around the world through their website. And this is just a few of the things that they do. But here's the real question. Who was right? Doug's efforts have helped protect millions of acres of land, while Yvonne's business has donated millions of dollars and counting to promote sustainability. These are both some pretty impressive legacies. Ironically, Doug would never have been able to accomplish what he has been able to do if he were not a part of that problematic industry in the first place. And now that he's out of the picture on North Face, that leaves one of the most prolific outdoor brands in the hands of people who simply aren't as passionate about Doug's values. And this raises some interesting questions. For example, would the world be better off if Doug had never established North Face? Or would it have been better if he'd just stuck with the company and tried to influence business from the inside like Yvonne did? It is something worth considering, as we all have to make similar difficult choices, if on a smaller scale. Where we spend our money, how we cast our vote, and how we spend our time in life has a huge impact on what continues to happen down the road. So think about it. Next time you're considering buying a new jacket or shirt that you saw and you just might buy, where did it come from? Is it secondhand? Do you need to buy that new thing? All of these choices are up to us to make. And maybe we're not the industry moguls that Yvonne and Doug were, but we all have a role to play. So what do you think? Is Yvonne right for staying in the industry, or is it Doug who got out while he still could? We would love to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. And hey, if you are enjoying this kind of content and you want to see more stuff like it, here are future proof we produce content like this every single week. So make sure that you've liked this video, and if you want to, maybe hit subscribe. And if you do, we'll see you in the next one.